Hello and welcome in this section about implementing a simple UI for our game. Right now, we have our game working pretty well. We have our music, we have our enemies, we have knockback, feedback, and all sorts of different feedback. We have our bullet spawner or bullet shell spawner rather. Our shooting has some effect. So it all looks great, but we do not have any feedback about how is our ammo and how is our health. So I would like to introduce those informations. Let's stop the game, and what we are going to do is we are going to implement a simple menu at the top of the screen, and this will show us the health and the ammo. So let's get to it. We will need to create some new objects in the hierarchy. So let's right click in the hierarchy, create and choose UI, and we are going to create a simple panel. So let's choose panel. We can select this panel in the scene view and click F to focus on it, and now we can see our panel. We can choose this tool called Rect tool. It should be selected by default, but I think you should press T to go into it using a keyboard, or press this button Rect tool below the top menu. So now what we can do is drag the bottom edge towards the top, and I think this is the size of our UI. We will see about the concrete size, but basically that's what I think it will look like. Next, let's change the name to the top menu, since this will be our main top menu. Next, what we are going to do is let's go to our project section, let's slide down to find our sprites, and we should have something in our HUD section. We are going to use, I think, this medium box. It will be good. If we go to our inspector and to the sprite editor, and we can see those green lines, usually they start at the edge of our sprite. And if we want to use our sprite for UI that will be stretched, we can use those green handles and drag them towards the spot where our color is solid. And we want to only stretch the center piece of our image in X and Y axis. The top part we want to only stretch in X axis, and the side frame we want to only stretch in Y axis. So to achieve this, we are going to drag those green handles to separate the frame from our image. And this is something like this, so that our frame looks exactly the same on each side. And then we can simply apply. And now if we go back, so close the sprite editor, go to our top menu, select the image component in the inspector, select the source image, and if we drag our medium box or click this cog icon, let's type box. Okay, we should have a bit less sprites. Let's choose this medium box, and you can already see that it was properly applied to our image. Now the image type is sliced, as you can see with those dashed lines. So now Unity exactly knows how to stretch each part, so it looks pretty decent. Now we need to change the color, because the alpha of this color is 39. We want to have it at 100, so it is fully covering the map. And what we can do as well is, if you do not desire to have this thick frame, you can change the pixel per unit multiplier, type 10, and you can see that the frame is really tiny. I think I will leave it at 1 because it will be looking good with our game. And that's it for our main top menu. Now, of course, we will want to add here two panels, one for the health and one for the ammo. So what we are going to do is we are going to right click on this top menu in the hierarchy, right click here, again UI, and add panel. And what we can do is we can duplicate this panel, so Ctrl D, and we have two panels. Now, let's rename the first panel to be health panel, and the second one, let's rename it to be ammo panel. You can use F2 to rename, or you can rename it through the inspector. Now, they are on top of each other. So to prevent this, we are going to add to our top menu. We are going to go to the inspector, and we are going to add the component here. So add component, let's type horizontal. And we have something called horizontal layout group. And this will make our panels that are children of this top menu appear in a horizontal fashion one by one. But now if they have disappeared, so if we go to our health panel, now in the rect transform, it has width and height of size 0. Before we change it, Or actually we can change the width to something like 100 and height to something like 100. And you can see that here is one panel. The ammo panel, let's do the same. Let's add 100 on width and 100 for height. And you can see that those are two panels that we have. Let's go back to our top menu object because we want to make those panels appear one after another, not with some distance between them. So what we can do is we can uncheck the in horizontal layout group in the inspector, child force expand, let's uncheck the width. So now they appear one after another. And let's check control child size, height. So those panels will be of the same height that our top menu. Now this isn't perfect solution because you can see that we have this frame, and to mitigate this we can of course change the padding for our elements. I think we can add 70 for the spacing, so those are spaced a bit, so we can see that there is a difference between health and ammo. So let's set 20 for the top padding and bottom padding, and we can set the 20 for the left and right padding as well, because now our content of the top health and panel and ammo panel will be inside this space inside the frame rather than covering it up. Great. So those will be the placeholders for our health panel and ammo panel, and we will need to fill them in with some prefabs for the health and ammo. So far we have our top menu that has the horizontal layout group with some parameters here set, and we have our health panel and ammo panel, which are the standard panels. This is it for this video. In the next one we are going to implement our health panel by adding some prefab that uses one of those heart sprites. So see you in the next video. In the previous video we have created layout for our UI. Now I have said that in this video we are going to create some health prefabs. So let's go to our project section, let's find our underscore sprites folder, and we are going to use the underscore sprites props and UI. We can choose the sprite editor to see, and we are going to use those icons. This will be one health point, and the empty health will indicate that we can have this many health points, but currently we have one less, or how many less, it will depend on how many empty hearts are we showing. In any case, we are using those two sprites. So what we are going to do is we are going to drag one of those sprites. If we don't see the icons, we can use this slider at the bottom of it, and we can find our sprite for the health. We are going to create in the health panel, click on it in the hierarchy, left click, UI, and let's choose the image. And this will be the image. And for the image, in the inspector we can extend the image component, and for the source image we want to drag our sprite props with the heart. And this will be our image for the heart. Let's rename it to our health or heart prefab. Okay. And what would we like to do is just simply Ctrl D on it, and we would like it to show next to this. What we will want to do is choose from the hierarchy health panel, add component, and let's choose the horizontal layout group. And now we can see that our hearts are appearing next to each other. But there is an issue that our heart is shown behind the ammo panel. So what can we do about it? Choose our health panel and make sure that it extends, the width extends to fit all the hearts that we want to place there. Let's add health prefabs, for example 6 of them or 5, depending on how many health points do you want the player to have. Let's choose our health panel and let's extend the width through the inspector, and this should be good. And at some point your hearts might be stretched. If you don't want that, you can simply uncheck in the health panel in the horizontal layout group the child for expand width again, and now we can expand our panel until it fits our needs. Now I think there is a way to make it automated, but I'm not sure how to implement it, so this is the simplest way I can implement it. And what we can do is we can check the control child size in the health panel to fit height, so that our prefabs of the heart fits inside the frame of our UI. And now let's disable the image, and this will be our health UI. Great. Now what we will need to do is also implement a custom script that will drive how those UI elements will behave. So what we can do is we can go to our underscore scripts in the project section. I can use the slider to make the scripts smaller so that I can see where am I placing this new script. We can create a new folder, so right click on a script and create a folder. So the folder will be placed in the underscore scripts folder, and let's call it UI. Enter this folder and let's right click, create new C# script, and let's call it UI health. Okay, let's open this script up in Visual Studio. Great. Let's delete the update and start methods. I would like to make sure that we can set through the script how many health points do we have, and this should update the UI. And if we plan to have a maximum of 6 health points, then we are safe. If not, then we should play around with how we can resize automatically the UI. In any case, we are going to create a serialized field here, and we will need to have a private game object, and this will be our heart prefab. Okay, let's set it to be null by default. Okay, comma, and we can call it health panel. So this will be the panel where we want to spawn those game objects. Next, we can create serialized field, and we will need to have 2 sprites, so private sprite, and let's create heart full equals null. Let's set it to be null by default, and heart empty, let's set it to be null. And if we lose a life, we are going to set our sprite to be heart empty to indicate that we are missing 1 health point. Okay, next let's create private int heart count. Let's set it to be 0 by default, and we will need to have a private list of images. Those will be the images that we have created. Alt enter, and we are going to use a Unity engine.ui. It will appear at the top of our class, and now we will have access to the image class. Let's call it hearts equals new list of images. Great. And let's create a public void initialize, and let's pass here int lives count. So this will be the count of lives that the player has, and this will be the maximum value. We want to pass set our hearts count equals 0. Next, we are going to call for each tab to create it, transform, and we are going to call it child, tab to move to the collection, and we are going to call it health panel dot transform. So basically what we want to do is we want to loop through each transform inside our health panel transform, and we are going to call destroy. We are going to pass child dot game object. Okay, so we are going to destroy all the hearts that are currently visible, and we will need to recreate them. So for tab int I equals 0, I less than hearts count. This will be the lives count. I plus plus, we are going to add our hearts list dot add, and we are going to instantiate simply a new heart prefab. We are going to instantiate as a child of health panel, so let's type health panel dot transform, and we are going to get a component out of it, so get component, and we are going to get the image component. So we will have to access to all the images of our hearts that we have created. So we are going to create a maximum number of hearts that are possible for the player to have, and we are going to simply set it as a hearts full image by default. And if we lose a life, we are going to set it to be heart empty, and that's why we will need to have access to all the images. So last thing that we will need to have is a way to update the hearts. So let's create a new method public void update UI, and we are going to pass int health, and this will be the health that the player has, and we are going to simply call our int current index equals 0, and we are going to create a for loop. So for tab to create it from the snippet. I equals 0, I less than hearts count. And this is the number of the hearts that we have. And actually, I think we don't want to set it to be 0, but rather to lives count. So we will want to save the number of lives, the maximum number of lives that we have, just for the purpose of looping here. Or we could have used the count of our hearts list. Okay, but since we have our heart count, we are going to loop from 0 to heart count. And in here, we want to type if our current index is greater or equal than health value. So this will mean that we have more hearts than we have health on our player. So we are going to type here hearts. So our list of hearts images of index I dot sprite equals heart empty. So this will be the empty image. Else we are going to copy the same line, but instead of setting the image sprite to the heart empty, we are going to set it to sprite heart full. And at the end, we want to increase the current index so that we know at which health point we are. Okay, let's go back to Unity. Okay, we are going to right click in the hierarchy, create a new object. Let's rename it to be UI controller. Okay, make sure that the transform is reset. So click those 3 dots and reset. And let's drag our UI heart to our UI controller. And what we can do now is from the canvas top menu health panel, we are going to delete all the prefabs but a single one that we have created at the beginning. And we are going to drag it into our underscore prefabs. Okay, now we can assign it in the hierarchy to our UI controller. Let's assign as a heart prefab our heart prefab. Our health panel, let's assign our health panel from the UI from the top menu. As the heart full, let's go back to our project section, to our sprites, and let's increase the size of the sprites in the projects so that we can see which one is the heart full. Let's drag it as the sprite of the heart full, and the heart empty, let's drag it to heart empty. Okay, and now we should be good. So that's it for the setup for our UI health. In the next video, we are going to start implementing our UI for the bullets. Okay, so see you in the next video. In the previous video, we have implemented our UI for the health, and we have our heart prefab, and we have our custom script UI health that will allow us to modify the outlook of our health panel and the content of it. Now we would like to modify this ammo panel so that it displays our ammo instead of this empty panel. To do that, we are going to add to our ammo panel a horizontal layout group, because now we will need to add here an image. So let's add to our ammo panel an image. Right click on it in the hierarchy, UI, add an image, and we are going to extend this image. And what we will want to place here is, let's slide down in the project section to our sprites, to our HUD, and let's use this ammo -1. So let's choose our image, let's slide our ammo -1 to its source, and this will be our image. We can click set native size, it will be much smaller, so we can choose our tools for resizing the image, and we can extend it so it looks good. Okay, great. What we can do now is we would like to also add a text here, so that text will tell us how much ammo do we have. So let's right click on the ammo panel, let's choose UI, and let's choose Text Mesh Pro. Okay, since our text is not really aligned with our bullet, we will need to go to our ammo panel, choose our horizontal layout group, and choose the child alignment, and let's set it to the middle center. Now that's better. We can also add some spacing to space the text from the bullet. And again, we have this issue with our ammo panel's size, so we can use the rect tool to increase the width of it, just to make sure that it fits the text and the bullet. Now, we can disable the image for our ammo panel. And last thing that we want to do for our ammo panel is set that we want to control child's height. Okay. Now it doesn't fit very well, so we can choose our ammo panel, and of course our ammo panel is directed from our top menu. With the height, it controls our height. So what we can do is simply add some more padding from the top, so let's set it to 30, and now it looks much better. Great! So now we have fixed the issue with the bullet extending on our frame, but still we have the issue with the text. So let's go to our ammo panel, and our text, let's choose it, and let's select it, and we can set the different settings through the inspector for the Text Mesh Pro. For now, I want to set the alignment to be in the center, and in the center in the middle, okay? And we would like to change the font asset. Now, I have provided you with the Pixel Operator 8 font asset, but let's go to our underscore sprites, I think, and we should have in the HUD, the font folder, and here are the fonts that I have collected. Those are free fonts. Here is the license. In any case, we have those different fonts, but they are not usable with our Text Mesh Pro. But lucky for us, the Text Mesh Pro comes with a tool to create a font out of the default font that we can find on the internet. And what we can do is we can go to the top menu, to the window, Text Mesh Pro, and we have something called Font Asset Creator. We can choose the source font file, and we have all the fonts. We can choose any font that we want. We have some settings, but all we want to do is just to generate an atlas, and you can see that we have our atlas for a font, which we can save as the asset. Now I have already done this, and we have our Pixel Operator 8 font, and what we can do is simply select in the hierarchy our text of type Text Mesh Pro, and let's select font asset. Let's choose our Pixel Operator 8, and we have our text in the pixel form. So what I would like to do is I would like to set its text through the inspector. Instead of new text, let's set it to be 999, since I believe this will be the highest value of ammo that we can have. And what we can do is we can play around with the font size, and this will be it for the bullet text and the bullet ammo panel setup. Last thing that we will need to do is simply create a script that will drive at this panel. So let's do the same as we did for the health UI. Let's go to our underscore scripts folder in the project section. Let's open up our UI folder, right click, create new C# script. Let's call it UI ammo. And let's open this script up in Visual Studio. Great. Again, let's delete the update and start. And what we can do is we can create a serialized field, and we are going to create private. And we want to be using Text Mesh Pro, but if you start typing it, there is no Text Mesh Pro. So we want to go up, and with the libraries, let's type using. We are going to use TMP, and you should have the TM Pro suggestion. So let's type it in the libraries section. And now if you type text mesh, and we should have Text Mesh Pro UGUI, and this is the text object that we want to access. Let's set it to be null. Okay, and we are going to create one method, public void update bullets text. We are going to pass here an int bullet count, and from this value we are going to change the text to the int value, or we are going to use this int value to change the text. We are going to check if our bullet count equals 0. We are going to change the text color, so text.color equals color.red. Okay, and else we are going to make sure that the text.color is white, equals color.white. Okay, and to set the text we are going to simply call text.set text, and we are going to type bullet count.to string to convert the int value to the string value. And this will be it for our custom class for our UI ammo. So let's save it. Let's go back to Unity. Great. Now we have this warning that the value is never assigned. So if you click on this, you can see that we haven't assigned it to null, and the Unity will throw us these warnings. So let's assign it to null, and now we will be sure that Unity will not throw us unnecessary warnings. Great, let's go back to Unity. Okay, no warnings. So let's drag our UI ammo onto our UI controller game object. And now we should be good to go. We are ready. We can assign our text mesh pro, so we can rename the text inside our ammo panel to ammo text. Okay. And we can maybe change the image to be ammo image. Let's change the name of the image. Okay, let's choose the UI controller. Let's assign our ammo text as a text for the UI ammo. And this is it for the setup for our UI for the bullets. In the next video, we are going to tie this all together with our current game, because now if we press play, nothing changes in the UI. Great, let's save it and see you in the next video. In the previous video, we have created our UI for the ammo. Now what I would like to do is I would like to make sure that we tie those classes from our UI controller game object to our current game so that those values can change, so the health symbols and the value for ammo. So let's first start from making changes to our player script, as this will be responsible for changing the values for the health, as only our player script knows how much health does the player have. So let's choose our player from the hierarchy. Let's choose our player script, those three dots, and choose the edit script. Great. What I would like to do is I would like to make sure that we can assign our UI lives here. So we are going to create, maybe below the dead flag, we are going to create prop, tab. Let's type UI health. And let's tab to move to the name, and let's call it UI health with lower letters. Okay. We can add to it field colon serialized field so that we can assign it through the inspector, and this will be it. Let's save it. What we are going to do is we are going to slide down, and we do not have any methods here, so let's create a start method, start. Okay. And let's type our UI health dot initialize, and we want to initialize it to our health value. And what we can do to make sure that we update it, let's slide up, and when we get the health, we are setting the field for the health. Now, we cannot really do anything here without a backing field, so let's create one. We are going to simply create a private int health with lower age. Okay, and instead of serializing the capital health, the property, we are going to serialize the private int health by adding the serialize field. We are going to delete the field colon serialize field from the health, and now we will want to modify our health get and set. So what we will need to do is in get simply create lambda expression, and let's type health. So we are going to simply return the health with lower age value, and for the set we will need to add parentheses, so let's add parentheses. Okay, and let's format the code a bit. And in those parentheses, we are going to simply set health equals value. Okay, and what we will want to do is we will want to call our UI health dot update UI, and we are going to pass our health. Okay, but this might be an issue when we keep adding health to it. So instead, what we can do is we can add here another field, serialized field, and let's type private int max health. Okay, and actually let's delete the serialized field from the int health. So we do not want to expose our health, we only want to have the max health value. And now what we can do is we can make sure that we set this in the start method. So in the start, we want to set our health, capital H, equals our max health. And when we are setting the max health, when we are setting health equals value, instead we can call mathf.clamp. We are going to clamp the value in between the 0 and max health, so that we never set our health value above the max health that our player can have. Now, of course, we can create a scriptable object for our player so that we can set the health through it. But for now, this will do. So we will set our max health in the inspector, and this in turn will be set through the start as the health value. And we are going to initialize our UI health UI with this value. And after we are updating the health, when we are updating the health, we are going to also update the UI. And now, as you might remember, our get hit also changes the capital health value, so we are good to go. Let's save it. Let's go back to Unity. Okay. Make sure that you set your max health. Let's set it to be 5, for example. And make sure that you assign your UI health. So we're going to drag our UI controller here. Let's press play. We should have our health points. And when we get hit, we are disabling the health points until we are dead. Great, so our health UI works as intended. Now what is left is to implement this bullet UI to our script, so that's what we are going to do in the next video. See you there! In the previous video, we have implemented our health bar, so that when we get attacked by enemy, one heart disappears, then second one, then third one, and so on. So that's great. Now, we still do not have the ammo count working, so let's take care of it in this video. We have a bit of an issue with preparing this setup, because in our player setup, when we have our weapon parent, it has the player weapon script, and in turn the player weapon script extends the agent weapon that we have in our underscore scripts folder in the project section. In the weapons folder, open up the agent weapon script. Great. Now, in the agent weapon script, we have the reference to our weapon, and when we press shoot, we do not know if the shooting were successful or not. We could, of course, return the value here, but basically, what is happening is that our weapon is driving our shooting, and it only knows what is the state of our ammunition. So what we want to do is right-click on the weapon, and let's choose Go to Definition. Great! Now we are in the weapon script. And we can see that it knows exactly how much ammo does it have. So it would be great if we have some way to call in our ammo when we set the ammo value to also update the ammo UI, just as we did with our health with the player script. We are going to implement another Unity event, so let's slide down to where our Unity events are. And just above the start method, let's create another field parameter colon serialized field. So just above the start method, let's create prop tab. Let's type the type as Unity event, and this event will take int value, or rather will send int value. Tab to move to the name, and let's call it on ammo change. Okay, enter. And let's copy the field colon serialized attribute and paste it above this event as well, so that we can assign to it through the inspector. But mostly we are going to assign it through the player weapon script that extends the agent weapon, because if we change a weapon, we would like to reassign this on ammo change and assign our UI to it. Okay, but we need to still call it somewhere. So what we are going to do is slide up where it is where there is ammo property. And here you can see that we are clamping the ammo property to be the protected field ammo. And after we are setting the ammo value, we are going to call on ammo change dot invoke. And we are going to pass here ammo value, so that now anybody that is listening to this event will exactly know how much ammo do we have in this weapon. Now, of course, it would be a good idea to be able to unassign from it, but since our event is public, we can do this in our player weapon as well. So let's save this script. Let's go back to Unity. Great. Now if we go to our hierarchy, to the player, weapon parent and assault rifle, we have this new event on ammo change. On our weapon parent, we have our player weapon script that we have prepared just for such an occasion, so that if we have player weapon instead of agent weapon, the player weapon will take care of assigning the UI to our assault rifle or any weapon that we have. So let's click those three dots and choose edit the script. Great. Now here we want to get the reference to our UI ammo, since this script will be only on a player, so it is sound idea that only player knows about the UI ammo, and this class should assign the UI ammo update method to the weapon on ammo change event, so that we can update how much ammo do we have in this weapon. So what we will need to do is let's create a serialized field here, the attribute, and let's create private UI ammo. Let's call it UI ammo. And let's set it to be null by default. Now, since our player will be picking up ammo and health packages soon enough, we will have here a property that forwards our ammo full boolean flag from our weapon. So let's type prop tab. This will be public bool value, so let's type bool as the type. Tab to move to the name, and let's call it ammo full. Okay. And when we are calling get method, let's create a lambda expression, so equals and greater sign. Let's type weapon is not equal to null, so weapon is not null, and we are going to type weapon dot ammo full, since the weapon itself has the ammo full flag. So basically we are going to only return if the weapon is not null. If it is, it will return null, false, and we want to say check if ammo is full in this weapon. And this ammo full flag in the player weapon will allow us to simply check if we should pick up the ammo package that lies on the ground or not. We do not want to have a set method here, so we are going to simply delete it. And this will be it for our ammo full property. Next, what we will need to have is a start method. So let's type start. Okay, enter. And in the start method, we are going to simply check if our weapon is not null. If it is not, we are going to assign to our weapon on ammo change add listener, and now we can add a listener, and our listener will be our UI ammo dot update bullets text, and this will automatically be called when we are shooting the weapon, when we are changing the ammo value for the weapon, and in turn it will call our UI to update the value of our text. We want to have a way to add ammo to our weapon, so we are going to call public void add ammo. We are going to type int amount, and what we will need to do is again check if weapon is not null, and if it is not, we are going to call our weapon dot ammo, since we have this property exposed to us, plus equals amount. And in this case, we are going to be able to add ammo when we pick up a ammo crate from the ground. We are going to be able to add ammo to our weapon, and we are going to be able to check if ammo is full. So if it is, we do not want to pick up the crate, and we are going to be able to assign to our listener to the on ammo change, and we are going to assign our update for the UI ammo, so that we will see how much ammo do we have. So let's save it. And one more thing that we might do is when we call start and we are going to call if statement, if we have a weapon, we may already set our UI ammo dot update bullets text, so that we want to update it immediately when we start the game. So let's type our weapon dot ammo. And now we should have the current ammo value set in our UI. So let's save this. Let's go back to Unity. Great. Now what we will need to do is we will need to assign our UI ammo to the weapon parent, to the player weapon. So let's do that. Let's assign our UI controller to our UI ammo, and let's test our game. So let's press play, and we already see that we have 100 ammo. When we shoot, we have 99, and so on until we reach 0. And when we reach 0, okay, I have skipped the shooting. When we reach the 0, we can hear the no ammo sound, and we cannot really shoot anymore. That's it for this video. Let's quickly create in the next video a simple UI that will allow us to restart the game upon the player death. We'll see you in the next video. In the previous video, we were almost done with preparing our UI, but I have forgotten to one important step when setting up this UI. If you click in the hierarchy on the canvas, you have those components here, one of which is canvas scaler. And this is pretty important because now if our game is set in the game view for 1920 by 1080, if I change it to something lower, our menu will be gone. So I'm going back to 1920 by 1080, and in the canvas component, canvas scaler component inside the canvas object in our hierarchy, we want to change the UI scale mode from constant pixel size to scale with screen size. And let's set the reference resolution to be 1920 by 1080. And now, if we change the resolution in the game view from 1920 to 1280, our UI will still be the same. And that is important because if you change the resolution for our game, the UI would be gone. But now, when we have fixed it, it works well. And we have some warning about the shaders. Channels, normal channels, and tangent are most often used with lighting, so we can choose the additional shader channels and uncheck the normal and tangent, and this should be gone. And one last thing that we want to do is inside the canvas, let's expand it. Let's choose the top menu and let's press F in our scene view so that we can select it. And now what we want to do is we want to select the top menu. In direct transform, select the stretch and anchors, and we are going to set the anchor to be at the top of our screen to make sure that our UI stays in this place. So the point is that it stays always at the top of our screen. Now, what we will want to do is click on the canvas object in the hierarchy, right click, let's create UI panel, and let's call it bottom panel. Again, we can choose direct transform, choose the anchor, and we can hold the Shift and Alt and make sure that it is placed at the bottom, so it is connected to the bottom edge of our screen. And now we can choose inside our scene view, choose the rect tool, and we can minimize it or change its height to have a simple panel at the bottom. And what we will want to do is click on the bottom panel in the hierarchy, right click on it, and we want to create a button. So choose UI and choose button text mesh pro. And now we will create this button. To make sure that it stays in the center, again we will need to make sure that the direct transform, the anchor preset, is set to the center. So Alt, Shift, and click in the center. Now what we can do is we can use the rect tool in the scene view, holding Alt and Shift, we can drag for one handle, or rather click on the one handle and then hold Alt and Shift, and we can extend this button, keeping the button ratio. So we have our button, and what we can do now is first of all choose the bottom panel in the hierarchy and disable the image. We do not want to see it. Choose the button again, and let's rename it to restart button. Okay. For this button, let's set some image. So let's go to our project window. Let's open up _sprites, our HUD, and we have this, for example, box. So what we can do is make sure that we click sprite editor and slide those green handles to make sure that our box is sliced so we can use it for our button. So let's prepare it. Okay. Now we should be good to go, not too far. Okay. Now apply those changes so that our box is sliced, our image is sliced. Let's close the sprite editor. Let's select our restart button and let's drag our box from our HUD folder into the image component. And we can see that we have our box. And what we can do now is select in the image sliced and pixel multiplier, let's increase it. Okay. So I think 4 is good. Pixel per unit multiplier. Now the box looks pretty good. What we can do is extend in the hierarchy the reset button to find out our text mesh pro. And what we can do is, first of all, let's assign our font asset. Let's choose the pixel operator 8. Let's change the color to be white. It will be much more visible. And of course, what we can do is we can resize the button, so make it a bit bigger. So let's select it. Select our reset button and holding one of those handles, Alt Shift, let's resize it. Great. Select again text and let's change the text first to maybe restart game. Okay. And let's increase the font size for it so it is more visible. Okay, I think that's pretty visible. Now, we will need to have some kind of code that will allow us to restart the level. So to do that, we are going to make sure that we edit our game manager. I think we have the game manager object in our hierarchy, so let's find it. And on it we have our game manager script. The only job of game manager script is to change the cursor texture. So let's click those three dots and let's edit the script. Okay. What we want to do here is we want to create another method, public void, let's call it restart level. And here what we will need to do is we are going to call scene manager. We will need to alt enter on it because we don't have the Unity Engine scene management library. So let's click it, it will appear at the top here. So now we can use scene manager.load scene, and what we can pass here is the index of our scene. To get it, we are going to call scene manager dot get active scene, and this is a method dot build index. Okay, and finish this statement. So we'll need to make sure that we prepare our scene to have an index. So let's save it. Let's go back to Unity. Okay. So first of all, let's prepare our button. Let's finish preparing it. So go to canvas, extend it, reset button, and at the bottom of the reset button you should have Unity event on click. Let's add here a onClick method. Let's drag our game manager as the object, and let's choose the function from the game manager, and I think it was restart level. Now to be sure that we can actually restart level, we need to go to the top menu, file, and let's choose the build settings. Okay, now you can see that our scenes in build one is deleted, so this was the first scene that we have created with this project. We are going to click this add open scene, and I think we can click on this deleted scene and click delete to delete it from our build settings. Okay, great. So now we should be able to press play, and now we should be able to shoot our enemies and click the restart, and the game should be restarted. Now if we stop our game, we might experience that DoTween has some issues, that it has found some errors. Do not worry about it because we have performed some tweening, and apparently not every tween has finished, so probably you have clicked the restart game when the bullets were flying or bullet shells were flying, and those tween didn't finish. But there is an easy fix for it. What we will need to do is go back to our game manager and choose the three dots to edit the game manager script. Great. Now what I would like to do is add some line of code to our restart level. So basically what we would like to do is to stop all tweens. So let's take a look at the DoTween documentation to know how can we go about it. Great. We are in DoTween documentation, and to the right there is a menu from which we want to choose controlling a tween. And now in the example we can see the DoTween class contains many static methods, one of which is kill all. So let's go down and we can see that kill all kills the tweens, and tweens are killed automatically. And basically what we want to do is we want to make sure that we call kill all tweens before we restart our scene. So that's what we are going to do. Let's go back. Okay, so what we would like to do is let's call do tween, alt enter. We should see using DG tweening library, it should appear at the top, and on this we can call dot kill all. And now this method will kill all tweens and prevent the error from occurring, because we are going to stop all tweens before we reload the scene. So let's save it and let's go back to Unity. And now when we press play, we should see that we can now kill the enemies and restart the scene, and when we stop, there is no more errors. So success with this. The last thing is that we would like to show this reset button only when our player is dead. So let's select this reset button from the hierarchy and let's set it to be disabled by default. And what we can do is go to our player in the hierarchy. Our player script has the onDie event, and what we can do is add an event here, drag our reset button, and select no function, select game object, and let's choose set active and let's set it to true. So now if we press play, when our enemy attacks us and kills us, our button should appear, and now we can restart our game and play again. Great, so we have our functionality working. If we now stop, all should be good. So in the next section, we are going to make sure that we can spawn our charts or our enemies around our map, and we are going to implement a way for them to spawn medkits and ammo packs when they die on occasions, so then we will be able to continue playing. So see you in the next section.